A ship lost in the depths of the sea, a love story that transcends time. This movie tells the story not only of a disaster, but also of two young people's struggle against impossible love. Beginning on the majestic deck of the Titanic, this tale reveals the power of hope and sacrifice. This masterpiece is a saga of love and tragedy that has been engraved in the history of cinema. Let's dive into the waters of this unforgettable story together. James Cameron's 1997 film Titanic is considered one of the greatest and most influential films in the history of cinema. With its iconic scenes, unforgettable characters, and touching story, Titanic captured the hearts of audiences and broke box office records. So, what makes Titanic a masterpiece? Titanic is the perfect narrative that blends a real tragedy with a fictional love story. The film tells the story of the first and last voyage of the Titanic, billed as the largest and most luxurious ship in the world, and centers on the blossoming love between two young people from different classes, Jack and Rose. This love story, combined with the tragic end of the ship, creates an intensity of emotion that deeply affects the viewer. The depth of the story is further enhanced by the richly detailed background characters and their personal stories. Titanic contains some of the most memorable scenes in the history of cinema. The scene where Rose opens her arms at the bow of the ship and says,
"I'm flying!"
is one of the most iconic moments not only of the movie, but of cinema in general. This scene has become a symbol of freedom, youth, and love. Similarly, the scenes where the ship hits the iceberg and starts taking on water are also impressively rendered. The tension and chaos in these scenes make the audience feel as if they are inside the ship. In addition, the scenes showing the sinking of the ship and the struggle of hundreds of people to survive have also left their mark on the history of cinema. These scenes deeply affect the audience both technically and emotionally. We can say that James Cameron started a new era in cinema with Titanic. The visual effects and huge sets used in the movie were groundbreaking for their time. In particular, the visual effects from the Titanic's collision with the iceberg to its sinking take the audience back to that tragic night in 1912. The realism that Cameron created by having the ship built to scale and the sets meticulously designed was an important element that drew the audience into the movie. Watching the large dining room turn into a giant aquarium as the ship starts to take on water is truly an unforgettable cinematic experience. Titanic also does an extraordinary job in terms of character depth and development. The love story of Rose and Jack tells of a love that defies class differences and social pressures. While Rose is constantly controlled by her overbearing fiancé, Cal, and her mother, Jack teaches her the meaning of freedom and true happiness. Jack and Rose's love for each other makes the tragedy at the center of the film all the more moving. Moreover, the scene where Rose loses Jack at the end of the ship is one of the most heartbreaking moments in the history of cinema. This scene makes you feel the power of love, loss, and sacrifice in a profound way. The soundtrack, composed by James Horner, is one of the elements that maximize the emotional impact of Titanic. In particular, My Heart Will Go On, sung by Celine Dion, has become a symbol of the movie. This song perfectly reflects Jack and Rose's love and the overall melancholic atmosphere of the movie. In addition, the instrumental music used throughout the movie increases the tension and emotional intensity in scenes such as the sinking of the Titanic. The music draws the audience into the atmosphere of the movie and reinforces the emotional impact of the story. Titanic is a movie that also contains social criticism. The film skillfully portrays class differences in the early 20th century and the impact of these differences on people. The difference between the rich and the poor traveling on different decks of the Titanic is one of the main themes of the film. Jack and Rose's love that transcends class differences makes this social criticism even more evident. With the sinking of the Titanic, the fact that the rich are closer to being rescued while the poor are closer to death strongly draws attention to the injustices of that period. Titanic is not just a love story or a dramatization of a historical event. It is a cinematic masterpiece of emotion, visuals, and storytelling. James Cameron's vision, the mastery of visual effects, the unforgettable performances of Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, and the film's deep themes make Titanic unique in the history of cinema. It takes viewers not only through a tragedy, but also on a profound journey of love, loss, and the power of the human spirit. Titanic is one of the films that best demonstrates the magic and power of cinema.